This video is brought to you by our sponsor, Barbarian Apparel. When it comes to countries that consistently produce world-class wrestlers, there is little doubt that Russia sits at the top of that list. For as far as history goes back, Russia has been a powerhouse in the sport of wrestling. The wrestlers are known for being extremely technical, with career lifespans that seem to double the typical professional athlete. In Russia, wrestling is the national pastime, and wrestlers are looked at as superstars. So in the country with the deepest and richest wrestling history, who would be considered the best to ever wrestle for Russia? We'll answer that for you in this video. But before that, be sure to hit subscribe. Nikolai Abusin starts our list, being the only wrestler in this video to have just one Olympic gold medal. A heavyweight Greco-Roman wrestler for the Soviet Union, he was an unstoppable force in the 70s, losing less than a handful of matches the entire decade. Winning his first world title in 1973, he would repeat this at the next year's World Championships. At the 1976 Olympic Games, he would put on one of the most dominant performances in Greco-Roman wrestling history, pinning all 5 of his opponents on the way to a gold medal. He would be a world champion the next 3 years and was favored to win another Olympic gold medal in 1980, but would suffer an injury in his second match that would force him to withdraw. Abusin would make the Olympic team again in 1984, but would not compete due to the 1984 Summer Olympics boycott by the Soviet Union. Following this, Nikolai would retire from the sport, and while that Russian heavyweight wasn't able to double up on Olympic gold, this Russian heavyweight was. Sosa and Andrei also competed in the 70s for the Soviet Union, but in freestyle wrestling. He would collect 2 world gold medals and a silver before the 1976 Olympics, where he would win the 100-kilogram weight class, becoming an Olympic champion for the first time. He would pick up 2 more world championships in 1977 and 78, and at the 1980 Olympics in Moscow, he would repeat as the 100-kilogram Olympic champion. Sosa was a serious medal contender in the 1984 Olympics, but his third shot at an Olympic gold medal would also be cut short due to that year's Olympic boycott. Nonetheless, Andrei is still considered one of the best freestyle heavyweights of all time. This next one is a step down in weight class, but a step up in hard work count, as not only did Valerie Rozansev of the Soviet Union win 5 world and 2 Olympic titles at light heavyweight, but he did it in 7 consecutive years, not losing once at the world level from 1970 to 1976. While others on this list may have had longer careers to collect more medals than Rozansev, his career is remarkable in how concise and intact it was. While Valerie Rozansev showed the value of what a succinct career can do for your legacy, Khamzat Kodartzev showed that longevity can have the same effect. Considered the world's top light heavyweight from the late 1980s through the 90s, Khamzat Kodartzev would compete in 4 Olympic Games, bringing home 2 gold medals and a silver. Kodartzev would be untouchable on the world stage, not losing from 1986 to 1992. In 1993, Khamzat would leave the World Championships with the bronze medal, and would take silver the following 2 years before earning his Olympic silver medal in 1996. He would retire after this Olympics, but would decide to give it one last go 4 years later at the Sydney Olympics. When he would fail to make the Russian team, he would use his connections to get him a spot on the Uzbekistan Olympic team. However, Kodartzev was clearly past his prime, failing to medal when he placed 14th. While Kodartzev may not have known when to hang it up, our next wrestler picked it up early and is now the most decorated wrestler in the world who is still actively competing. Abdulrasheed Sadilaya would make his senior-level freestyle debut in 2013 at 17 years old, and since then he has only lost 2 matches ever on the world stage. Ranked the pound-for-pound best wrestler in the world still today, Sadilaya has earned 2 Olympic gold medals and 5 world titles, only taking silver at the 2017 World Championships, where he would lose to American Kyle Snyder. A loss he would avenge 3 times, in the finals of the 2018 Worlds, the 2020 Olympics, and the 2021 Worlds. While Sadilaya has made it clear he intends to compete through the 2024 Paris Olympics, he'll likely not be able to collect enough world medals in that time to become the most decorated Russian wrestler ever, as Russia's allowance in international competition currently has been halted by the IOC due to their involvement in the current war in Ukraine. Sadilaya is still young though, and could easily make a run past 2024 if he chooses to do so. So far, all these Russian wrestlers have all been in the upper weights, but let me tell you about one of the most dominant freestyle lightweight wrestlers to ever come from Russia. Arsen Fadzev's potential to land higher on this list could have very well improved had he been able to attend his first Olympics. After winning his first world title in 1983, Fadzev would be forced to sit out the Olympics the next year, as he was yet another wrestler in this video who was affected by the 1984 Olympic boycott by the Soviet Union. Fadzev would make up for this though by winning a world title every year until the next Olympics in 1988, where he would finally make his Olympic debut and win gold. The following year, Arsen's record would finally take a blemish when he would lose to American wrestling legend Kenny Monday while wrestling up a weight class to take silver at the 1989 World Championships. However, he would bounce back from this and win 2 more world titles in 1990 and 1991. And capture his second Olympic title in 1992. With 8 world titles to his name, Arsen would attempt to collect 1 more at the 1996 Olympics. Failing to make the Russian team, Fadzev would go with Plan B and join the Uzbekistan Olympic team, but would fail to secure a medal at that Olympics. Unlike Fadzev though, our next wrestler, Sergey Billiglazov, would leave the sport at the top. Sergey Billiglazov would finish runner-up at the 1979 World Championships, and after this he would never experience defeat again on the world stage. Starting his reign off with an Olympic gold medal in 1980, Sergey would win every world title he competed for through 1988. This included a second Olympic gold medal in 1988. Sergey by many is still considered one of the best freestyle wrestlers to ever compete. The same can also be said though for Alexander Medved. Alexander Medved was the first wrestler to ever win 10 world and Olympic championships. Starting at the 87 kilogram weight class, he would take bronze his first world championships in 1961. After that year, he would move up to light heavyweight and the reign of Medved would begin. He would pick up 2 world titles and Olympic gold medal over the next 3 years, but in 1965 would take silver. Medved would get back on track after this loss though, as he would not lose again over the next 7 years, making his count by the time he retired 7 world titles and 3 Olympic gold medals. What makes this more impressive was in 1969, Medved would move up to heavyweight, even though he was significantly smaller than his opponents at heavyweight, weighing at most around 245 pounds. This would no doubt make wrestling your opponents more difficult, but the next wrestler we're talking about made wrestling the best in the world look effortless. When discussing the best freestyle wrestler ever, Uvasar Satilla is the name that almost always comes up. Satilla would mesmerize those watching him on the mat, being able to flow through all positions and scoring from about anywhere he wanted to. Satilla would win his first world title in 1995 and would compete all the way to the 2008 Olympics. This time spent would equate to 6 world titles and 3 Olympic golds. On top of those world golds, he also won 6 European gold medals. The only stains on Satillav's resume was when he would fail to make the Russian team in 2002 and 2007, was upset in the 2006 World Championships, and would be famously stunned by Brandon Slay in the 2000 Olympics. Nonetheless, when it comes to Russia, Satilla is the greatest freestyle wrestler to represent them so far. And the only Russian wrestler that can top him on this list is of course the great Alexander Karelin. If you have any background knowledge in Russian wrestling, then you more than likely already knew Karelin would be number 1, and deservingly so. Alexander Karelin would go for over a decade without losing a single match, and from 1992 to 1999, he would not give up a single point to his opponents. Finally putting his greatness really into perspective, Karelin's overall record was 887-2. A lifetime heavyweight Greco wrestler for Russia, Karelin was an intimidating presence on the mat. He would start off his senior level competition in 1987, picking up a quick World Cup gold medal before parlaying this into Olympic gold the next year at the 1988 Seoul Olympic Games, making him the youngest wrestler to ever win Olympic gold in Greco-Roman wrestling. After this, there is no stopping the Russian bear, who would go on to decimate the world heavyweight division for the next 10 years. By the 2000 Olympics, he had 9 world titles, 3 Olympic golds, and an astounding 12 European gold medals. At the 2000 Sydney Olympics, in the finals, Karelin would finally be on the other side of history, when American wrestler Rulon Gardner would upset Alexander, denying him from becoming the first wrestler from any country to win 4 Olympic gold medals. Karelin would be named the best Greco-Roman wrestler of the 20th century by FILA, today known as United World Wrestling, and to this day still firmly holds the top spot for the best Russian wrestler ever. Thanks for watching that video. If you enjoyed this content, be sure to subscribe and check out our channel for other content like this. See you next time.